so much, Jonathan. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is great to be here. It is a crucially important time to teach Americans about the U.S. Constitution. Yes, it is. Every day in the news, we are seeing our political questions being transmuted into constitutional ones, from the ability of government to track us 24/7 using cell phone or drone technology to the latest developments in the investigations in Washington. And I want to say to you, fellow educators, that we need to teach the Constitution from a nonpartisan perspective. I hear a chuckle in the audience, but this is really important. The Constitution Center in Philadelphia on Independence Mall, across from Independence Hall, has a unique mission from the U.S. Congress to disseminate information about the Constitution on a nonpartisan basis in order to increase awareness and understanding of the Constitution among the American people. It's so important in these polarized times to teach about the Constitution in a way that encourages citizens to separate their political views from their constitutional views so that they can converge around this document of human freedom which unites us. And this is an important opportunity for us this morning because I want to tell you about a really exciting online platform that the National Constitution Center has created called the Interactive Constitution. It's gotten 15 million hits since it launched 2 years ago. We have a wonderful partnership with David Coleman at the College Board, my dear friend whom you're going to hear from in a second, and we're going to have a conversation. And I need your help for 2 reasons this morning. To the educators in the audience, I'm going to tell you about this tool, and I need your help distributing this platform to schools across America from 6th through 12th grade and high school and beyond. And to the technologists in the audience, I need your help designing the platform with the help of new grants that we are pitching so that it can include state-of-the-art video, lessons plans, links to Supreme Court cases, so that it will be truly accessible and that any American will be able to take out their smartphones, click on the First Amendment or any provision of the Constitution and have access to the best thinking. So here, quickly, is why it's so important to teach about the Constitution from a constitutional perspective. 2 or 3 weeks ago, the Supreme Court heard a case that may determine the future of digital privacy in the 21st century. The question is, can the government subpoena our geolocational records from our cell phones and reconstruct our movements in public for 127 days without a judicial warrant? The court will rule on the case by June, but in order to have an informed decision about it, you can't ask the political question, the government track us in public. You have to ask the constitutional question, is ubiquitous surveillance in public an unreasonable search or seizure of our persons, houses, papers, or digital effects? So you need to begin with the text of the Fourth Amendment. Then you have to read the paradigm cases that inspired it, including the story of the general warrants that sparked the American Revolution. Then you need to read the leading Supreme Court cases involving electronic privacy, most recently involving global positioning system tracking. Then you need to read the arguments of scholars on both sides, and that's why it's so important that our interactive Constitution is co-hosted by the Federalist Society and the American Constitution Society. These are the leading liberal and conservative lawyers organizations in America. The Federalist Society nominated President Trump's judicial list. The American Constitution Society does the same for President Obama. These 2 groups have not worked together very frequently before, but with the help of a great grant from the John Templeton Foundation, the National Constitution Center created a national advisory board, heads of both organizations, and nominated the top scholars in America to write about every clause. So if you take out your cell phones, which I don't want you to do now because I want you to listen to every word that I'm saying, but after the show, go to the App Store and download Interactive Constitution, which is completely free, and then you can click on the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution, and you can find Barry Friedman, who teaches here at NYU, and Oren Kerr, my colleague at George Washington Law School, with 1,000 words about what they agree the Fourth Amendment means, and then separate 1,000-word statements about what they disagree. And there you'll find the leading Supreme Court cases, the story of the general warrants, and also really interesting disagreement about whether we have an expectation of privacy in public places. So this phenomenal tool already in version 1.0, as I say, in an if you build it, they will come spirit, has gotten 15 million hits just in the past 2 years. But we need to expand it so that it is accessible to learners of all ages and backgrounds. We need to create videos, and we have a great partnership with Khan Academy, which is going to do videos around it, but we also want to do shorter videos that can travel widely and are available to different learners. We need lessons plans that are aligned with standards, including the great new College Board standards, which have a founding documents requirement both for the AP, history, and government exams, and also for the SAT. And we need to make it truly interactive, accessible, so that classrooms can join in synchronous and asynchronous learning modules together. So with the help of another great grant from the Laura Lauder Foundation, we are uniting classrooms across the country for discussions about the Constitution using technologies like Google Hangout. We are working with Google, which powers Constitute, the leading database of global constitutions, to include a provision of the interactive Constitution that allows you to compare provisions in the US Constitution with provisions around the globe. And the 2.0 version really will be a one-stop platform for a constitutional curriculum that we hope will go to every American. So that is the urgent need. And again, I need to stress to you that there are 3 components to the learning approach that we are trying to inspire Americans to adopt. The first is to separate your political from your constitutional views. In other words, don't ask, is ubiquitous surveillance in public a good or bad idea, but does the Constitution allow it or prohibit it? And by asking not what government should do, but what the Constitution allows government to do, you elevate the discussion above politics. This is a bitterly divided time. The Princeton political scientist Norbert McCarty has found that not since the Civil War have Americans been as polarized as they are today. So we are not going to agree about politics. And when you teach these issues in the classroom, you run the risk of descending into political disagreement if you approach them from a policy perspective. But if you elevate the conversation in a wonky law professor way and insist that there's a difference between our constitutional and political perspectives, then you ensure both nonpartisanship, and you also require students of all ages to dig deeply, to learn about the text and history, to open themselves up to the arguments on both sides, to approach the Constitution in the spirit of Justice Holmes, who said that the Constitution is made for citizens of fundamentally differing points of view, and that humility, that ability to see the other perspective is an incredibly elevating perspective. Second, we need to tell stories to excite people about this. We all know the success of Hamilton in thrilling learners of all ages with the relevance of founding history. And by telling exciting historical stories and bringing to life these constitutional provisions, we can help connect to students. And the third component of our approach is by convening dialogues with people of different perspectives. It is very important to bring together liberals and conservatives in structured ways. It's important to break out of our echo chambers and filter bubbles. We know about the technologies that allow us to self-segregate and only reinforce our pre-existing points of view. By bringing together different perspectives, we can really elevate ourselves as citizens. So that's the promise, and this is my request. If you are a teacher, reach out to me, Jeffrey Rosen, jrosen@constitutioncenter.org, or Curry Sautner, who is here, our phenomenal Vice President of Civic Education, a dynamo of an educator who is just tirelessly working to bring this tool to classrooms across America with teacher training workshops and curricula writing, and help us develop partnerships with charter schools, public schools, and other institutions that will distribute this platform. And if you are a technologist, then please allow us to be in touch with you, and let's together create a completely state-of-the-art web platform and app done in partnership with the great platforms, so that on every smartphone, people will be able to interactively access this great document of human freedom and learn from it and be inspired by it. Thank you so much. Looking forward to our conversation.